I think Dave and Dusty said it right. Simply put, what a game. 4 picks for Carson Beck. Amazingly, Louisville got no points out of them, but that last interception by TJ Capers is going to go down in Cards lore.
Well, look, it sealed the game. And just looking at the way that Miami got to this position, you have to take your hat off to the Miami defense for keeping them in the game to start with those early interceptions by Carson Beck. But I'll tell you what, the game plan for Louisville was really one to where you smothered the run game for Miami. Miami only had 63 rushing yards total tonight. But again, these interceptions really ended up biting Miami's offense in the tail. And, you know, this is a Louisville team that right now is playing with a ton of confidence. They come off a tough loss last week. But, again, this is the kind of interception that is remembered forever. I mean, look at this. We all thought maybe it was an incomplete pass, but the nose of the football doesn't touch it right there. So just an overall great victory for the Louisville Cardinals tonight.
Indeed. It's their only second win over a top 2 team ever. The first one, came against Florida State when Lamar Jackson was making magic, and now Miller Moss is going to have a lifetime moment as well. Carson Beck, as I mentioned, 4 interception night. He has just 3 picks entering tonight for the season. What went wrong for him?
A lot of the predetermining, and we talked about it at the halftime point where he could get back into just hitting his receivers, hitting the checkdowns, taking the easier throws throughout this football game. And that's really what he's done at a high clip up until this point. But tonight, as you saw, for whatever reason, Carson Beck just felt the need to force the football when he didn't have to. Right here, the offensive line does a great job of straining. You're going to look at the offensive line's protection. You got an excellent pocket. That's where Carson Beck can now move up in this thing and get this throw off. But the issue is you got 5 defensive backs back here with 1 receiver from Miami. The 1 receiver, Malachi Tony, look, I understand he's a great player. He had a hell of a night, but you cannot put him up in a position where he has to go up and make a grab over 3 different defensive backs. This is an amazing first interception here by Antonio Watts, who's actually a linebacker. Now, this next play, this is Carson Beck really predetermined. He's going to get to the line of scrimmage. He's going to see the single high safety and hold him in the middle of the field with his vision, knowing that he wants to get out here to his left. Now, the corner, when he does his pump fake, he doesn't bite. Right there, the corner stays on top of it. So I would say, hey, you know what? Let's just take the check down right here. Let's take the 8-yard gain, maybe make a Louisville defender miss, and then you get an explosive play. He puts it up for grabs. C.J. Daniels not able to make him right. Another interception there by Jabari Mack. So this is something that ended up hurting Miami in the back end. We talked about it in the first half. The defense bowed their neck for Miami, didn't give up any points to Louisville when they got those turnovers, but ultimately that's what lost Miami the game.
All right, so the natural question now is, after this shocking loss for Miami, where do their playoff chances stand with the first ranking reveal coming out on ESPN on November 4th? Bottom of the screen, EJ, is what it's all about. Right now, they go to a 52% chance to make the playoff. This is their remaining schedule. It doesn't look too daunting in particular.
Well, here's a big thing for Miami. You got to snap and clear. You get another opportunity to play against the Stanford football team that has improved. And then after that, once you get into November, we always say you remember November. So now for this Miami football team, the urgency is, one, to clean up all the issues on the offense. The other part, too, you can't panic. You can't all of a sudden say, hey, we got to do this, we got to do that, because then you start to force, and then one loss ends up becoming 2 and potentially 3.
Now, on the other side, we have to give a ton of credit here to Louisville. They had a 2-headed monster other than Miller Moss. Isaac Brown was really great, but then he fumbled, looked like he was benched after that fumble, so they started to rely on the air, through the air, to Chris Bell, who many people think was a first-round pick, and you were watching tonight saying, this dude is making a lot of money every time he catches the ball.
Yeah, he certainly made a lot of money tonight, especially on a Friday night national showcase. But the other part, too, the touches for Chris Bell in this game, well over 10 tonight as far as targets. He ended up having 9 catches for 136 yards. And these types of throws, Zubin, they're almost like extended handoffs because they're drag routes. They're 5-6 yards away from the quarterback. But you throw it in a catchable position where he can catch it and then get upfield. We always talk about the yak. What is that? Yards after the catch. Look at the explosiveness from this guy. He's 6'2", 225 pounds. So really, this is the tape. When we get to draft time in April, we're going to be looking back at some of these plays. And then again, this is a very talented defense for Miami. So Chris Bell certainly carving him up, and I think he's shown, look, he's the main guy for this offense. Continue to feed him throughout the year.
Put your quarterback on here, hat here for a second. Miller Moss played at USC, eventually ended up transferring after being benched. He played in the bowl game, final game at USC, when he kind of said, this is my job to have. And then he played that game against Louisville where he threw 6 touchdown passes. Soon thereafter, he loses his job, now ends up at Louisville. What a journey it's been for this kid to get to this point. What did you see quarterback to quarterback out of him tonight?
Well, the biggest thing I saw was resiliency, because he didn't have a perfect or great game, I should say. There's a couple times where you saw some interceptions that could have happened in that next to last series, but overall, Miller Moss played winning football. Like I talked about with the accuracy on some of those shorter routes, and people kind of overlook those. They always want to see the post or the go routes, the 20-yard dig routes. Hit that slant, hit that crossing route at 5 yards, and then you allow great players to become great like Chris Bell showed tonight.
Speaking of great, this is a great stat if you're Coach Brom, and we were talking about it all throughout the night watching the game. Perhaps a lot of Louisville fans feel this way. This guy is just way under the radar and not getting enough credit for what he has done, not only winning against top 5 teams, but doing it while his team was unranked. This is an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, this really is. And we've said that Friday nights in the ACC seem to be a house of horrors for the ranked team. But right now, Jeff Brom deserves a lot more respect. He doesn't get talked about enough. One, as far as a great offensive coach he is, but then also he always rises to the occasion. When his team goes, whether it's on the road or plays at home, against these top 25 matchups, they usually play really well, and they certainly did tonight.
And, oh, man, did we see the Friday night football game? How we feeling?
I feel for those coaches. I've been there before, but super excited for Louisville. Fantastic win, and for Coach Brom.
Yeah.
I thought it was just an amazing game, and Miami looked like they were going to just give in, and then they look like they're going to win it all of a sudden after that defensive hit with the fumble and this almost scoop and score the next play, go for 2, down to three-point game, and then all of a sudden, and Miami gets the ball, gets a stop.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And then all of a sudden, one more pick, 4 picks. That's just too crazy.
It was pretty crazy. So let's show you how it all went down between number 2 Miami and Louisville. And this is Louisville's first drive inside the 40. And how about Isaac Brown, Coach Favors? You like him?
I'll tell you what, I think he's done a great job in this game. He really ran the football. A lot of missed tackles on him. You go back and count how many people have missed him in the hole. It was a lot.
It was a lot. And then watch this. A fake, Coach Richt.
Well, you know what? You got to give your special teams coach a lot of props on that, because he knew exactly what was going to happen. Nobody expected it at that moment, and they got a touchdown out of it.
They did eventually, not on the first try on the fake, but that got them to first down, first and goal, and then they cash in, so they take a 7-0 lead. Then, first quarter, Louisville still driving Chris Bell.
Chris Bell, this wide receiver, I don't know if he's part receiver, part tight end. He's a big guy, and when he gets the football, he's super fast, but he looks like a doggone big running back out there.
Louisville takes a 14-0 lead. So Miami not used to playing from behind this season, but nobody's really used to Malachi Tony. He does his thing, 39-yard reception there, and then they go to the run game, Coach Richt.
You got to give it to the big dog down in there, and it was a great job of not getting in the gun.
That was on Mark Fletcher Jr.'s birthday as well that he scored a touchdown, but not a whole lot of other presents for him here because this Louisville team, so hard to stop.
There goes number 0 again. Zero's our hero. He's making plays all over the place, but mostly in the middle of the football field and out on the edges.
So it's 23-13, and then Miami's next drive, 4th and 4. They're trying to make something happen, and what you get is an interception.
I can't remember if that was the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, but he threw way too many today, I promise you.
That was his 3rd interception of the game, and as you mentioned, there were more coming, but how about this? A little bit of life here as Miami gets the ball back, takes it inside the 15, and then Beck to Malachi Tony. You kept saying you don't have to throw it to him, hand it to him.
Just hand him the football. He's one of the most exciting young players I've seen since RG3 came out as a freshman. This kid's amazing.
So they look for it, they go for 2, and then Malachi Tony, man, he can throw it as well. The conversion there with C.J. Daniels. So it is a 3-point game. Then
7 minutes.
Under 2 minutes to go here. Another pick. How about this one? I don't know if we have the other look, but this was absolutely insane from T.J. Capers.
Louisville's DBs made better catches than their receivers and Miami receivers put together.
4th interception of the game for Carson Beck. First time ever in his career that he has had a 4-interception game. And Louisville takes down number 2 Miami 24-21. Their first top 5 win since 2016. Here. I think he was pretty prepared there as they get that 24-21 win on the road. He said a lot of really good things there, but one of the things he touched on was everything that they brought to try and make it hard for Carson Beck, and then Coach Richt also that this Miami team hasn't played from behind.
Right.
What did you see from Louisville that gave Carson Beck and this Miami offense so much trouble?
Well, the problem that Carson Beck had was the other team was scoring points and took that early 14-0 lead. I mean, the game happened exactly the way Louisville needed it to happen, I think. And they're getting that early lead, and get Miami uncomfortable. Miami hadn't been behind all season, I don't think, for 1 minute.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're behind for the first half, and they got to be uncomfortable. And when you're uncomfortable, you make mistakes. And that's what happened in this ball game with Carson Beck.
I really felt that he did a lot of that stuff, but he had a lot of help on that. But he also had to look at some of those things. I thought one of the interceptions on the outside to the wide receiver could have made a play and became the DB. The one over the middle, the free safety made a good play, but the receiver still had an opportunity. I thought he had one bad interception, and I thought the last interception was just maybe the best catch of the entire game by T.J. Capers.
For him to be able to make that play with like 24 seconds on the clock, and we were like, wait, is it going to stand? And then you see it in slow-mo, and he like keeps it off the ground and rolls his body on it, Coach.
It was truly fingertip catch.
Yeah.
Best catch of the game, not even close.
Yeah, so that was a big deal. This defense coming up with that many turnovers, I think you're going to see it again right here. I mean, do we have another? Let's see if the other look comes.
No controversy.
Yeah, here you go. Look.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, the way that he lifts that up with his fingertips to seal the game. This is a team that has had some struggles, and we talked a little bit about some of their skill players. Louisville has had some struggles. We talked a little bit about some of their skill players. Isaac Brown, healthy, goes for over 113 yards. Chris Bell, 136 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. How much did those guys have the ability to come out and really change things, especially, as you heard Taylor mention, with some of the things they did with their formations on offense?
I thought that Brown was amazing. I'm looking at this running back, and I'm going, where has he been at? And obviously you're saying that he's been hurt. Yeah. But he is the real deal. I think he is a very, very explosive football player and someone that is going to be playing in the league.
Bell's a full-grown man. We knew that. Lacey's a stud. You knew they had the skill guys, but the question was, could Louisville give Miller enough time to throw the football? And they did. He got knocked around some, but nothing crazy. Like everybody expected Miami's D-line just to maul this group and put so much pressure on the quarterback. He wasn't going to be able to hit his target on a consistent basis, but he proved that he could, and those guys made the catches and runs. I mean, those runs after the catch on those crossing routes, I mean, it takes bravery to do that, believe me. But that guy is he's a full-grown man, that's for sure.
Louisville looked really, really good offensively. Miami rushing only had 63 yards, the fewest they've had all season. They just had 97 against FSU last time that they played 2 weeks ago. So quite a few things for this Miami team to take a step back and look at. But when you look at what they have left, and this is the #2 team in the country, Coach Babers, and now it's a Friday night game. All eyes were on you, and all of a sudden you have a loss in the ACC play and a loss on the season. Where does this Miami team, obviously, sky's still the limit for them with one loss, but where do you go from here after this Friday night loss?
You go back, you regroup, and you run the table. The schedule they have, they can run the table with that schedule, and they can end right back up in the ACC championship game with one loss. And when they're running that table, they're going to make a run back up the top 15 and back up to the top 10. But they've got to come back and play. If you look at the difference of 4 turnovers to, I want to say, either 1 or 0, I can't remember what they had. That's the difference in the football game.
One.
Yeah, 4 to 1. Those 3 is the difference in the football game. That's the difference in the score. So they got to come back and they got to play cleaner. But they got a taste of defeat, and they can only do 2 things. And hopefully they're going to do the positive thing, and we're going to see them in the championship game.
Well, when you lose early in the season, it's not fatal. You lose towards the end, especially if you're in the playoff. You lose in the end, it's over. You're out. But the bottom line is they can still get in that championship game. They can still get into the playoff. And once you're in the playoff, you got a chance to win. So all is not lost, and sometimes you have to learn those hard lessons with the loss. You like to learn lessons with the close win, or like they had to come back last second and won. They still would have said, "Man, we could have lost this game."
Yeah.
As it turned out, they did lose the game, so it'll drive the point home even further.
270 yards for Carson Beck today. Those 4 interceptions, no passing touchdowns. He was 25 of 35 on the day. And